Scarlet Spider, Ben Reilly. Ben Reilly emerged in Web of Spider-Man as a clone of Peter Parker, created by the Jackal during the polarizing clone saga of the 1990s. A genetic duplicate with Peter's web-slinging agility, memories, and moral core, Ben adopted the Scarlet Spider identity, sporting a red and blue suit with a webbed hoodie. His origin, detailed in Spider-Man: The Lost Years, portrayed him as a drifter grappling with his identity, battling street-level villains while questioning his existence. Fans were initially drawn to the mystery. Could Ben be the true Spider-Man? His early adventures in Sensational Spider-Man showcased his wit and heroism, but the editorial decision in Spectacular Spider-Man to crown him the real Spider-Man, sidelining Peter, upended decades of continuity. This move, meant to refresh the franchise, sparked outrage among readers invested in Peter's journey. Ben's tenure as Spider-Man, chronicled in Amazing Spider-Man, relied on convoluted plot twists, multiple clones, fake deaths, and contradictory retcons that confused rather than captivated. The Scarlet Spider suit, while visually distinct, lacked the emotional weight of Peter's iconic costume, feeling like a marketing gimmick. Sales plummeted as the Clone Saga overstayed its welcome, with fan letters in Spider-Man decrying the narrative's complexity and Peter's demotion. By Spider-Man, Revelations, Marvel killed Ben to restore Peter, bowing to fan backlash. Ben's character was compelling. His existential dread and desire to forge his own path resonated, but editorial overreach doomed him. The Clone Saga's ambition to redefine Spider-Man ignored the audience's attachment to Peter's personal struggles, making Ben's tenure feel like a betrayal. His failure as a successor stemmed from Marvel's mishandling of a beloved icon's legacy, alienating fans who saw Peter as irreplaceable. The Scarlet Spider remains a cautionary tale, highlighting the risks of replacing a hero with a clone, no matter how well-intentioned. Ben's brief run underscored the challenge of altering a character whose identity is deeply tied to their personal narrative, leaving his legacy as a symbol of editorial missteps in comics history. Sam Alexander, Nova. Sam Alexander debuted in Point One as a teenage Mexican-American from Arizona, inheriting the Nova helmet from his father, Jesse, a former Nova Corps member. His origin in Nova depicted a scrappy high schooler gaining flight, super strength, and energy projection, thrust into heroism after his father's disappearance. Unlike Richard Rider, since Nova in the 1970s, Sam's stories in Avengers vs. X-Men focused on teen drama, grounding the cosmic Nova legacy in earthbound conflicts. Rider's fans, who cherished his galaxy-spanning heroics in Annihilation and the Thanos Imperative, were stunned by his off-screen death to make way for Sam. This editorial choice, aimed at younger readers, alienated loyalists who valued Rider's connection to the Nova Corps' lore. Sam's powers, tied to the Nova Force, were inconsistently portrayed, scaled back to reflect his inexperience, diminishing the Corps' mythic scope. His adventures in Nova prioritized high school struggles over interstellar battles, making the helmet, a symbol of Corps tradition, feel less potent. Sales of Nova in 2013 lagged behind Rider's runs, with fan forums like Comic Book Resources decrying Sam's disconnect from the cosmic mythology. His diversity and charm were strengths, but they couldn't match Rider's gravitas. Marvel's attempt to reboot Nova misjudged the audience's loyalty, leaving Sam in a shadow he couldn't escape. The narrative's failure to integrate him into the Corps' legacy, coupled with Rider's abrupt exit, made Sam a successor who struggled to claim the mantle. His tenure, though earnest, lacked the cosmic weight fans expected, highlighting the challenge of replacing a seasoned hero with a novice. Sam's story, while relatable, couldn't replicate the epic scope of Rider's adventures, cementing his status as a well-meaning but underwhelming heir to the Nova legacy. Christophe Bernard, Dr. Doom. Christophe Bernard entered Fantastic Four as a Latverian orphan adopted by Dr. Doom, groomed to inherit his mentor's intellect and ambition. Raised in Latveria's royal court, as shown in Fantastic Four, the world's greatest comics magazine, Christophe absorbed Doom's philosophy of power, studying science and strategy. When Doom was presumed dead in Fantastic Four, Christophe donned the green cloak and metal mask, proclaiming himself the new Dr. Doom. His brief reign, detailed in Fantastic Four, aimed to refresh Marvel's greatest villain, but faltered. Christophe's youth and impulsiveness clashed with Doom's calculated menace, his schemes lacking the regal precision fans expected. His attempts to rule Latveria and outwit the Fantastic Four felt reckless, like a child mimicking a master. Editorial decisions, such as allowing Doom's consciousness to manipulate Christophe's mind, stripped him of agency, reducing him to a plot device. Fan letters in Fantastic Four from the 1980s criticized his arc as a distraction, with readers demanding Doom's return. Christophe's imitation of Doom's imperious demeanor came off as unconvincing. His youth truth undermining the gravitas of the armored tyrant. By Fantastic Four, Doom reclaimed his mantle, relegating Kristoff to obscurity. His failure as a successor wasn't due to lack of potential, his intellect and loyalty were compelling, but because he couldn't match Doom's singular charisma and strategic brilliance. The narrative's reliance on Doom's inevitable return made Kristoff feel like a placeholder, unable to embody the villain's unique blend of ego and genius. Kristoff's brief stint highlighted the challenge of replacing a character whose larger-than-life presence is integral to their legacy. His adoption by Doom and early promise as an heir were overshadowed by his inability to command the same fear and respect, cementing his role as a well-intentioned but ill-fated successor to an inimitable villain. Amadeus Cho Hulk. Amadeus Cho, introduced in Amazing Fantasy, was a genius teenager and longtime Hulk ally before becoming the totally awesome Hulk in Totally Awesome Hulk. His origin saw him absorb Bruce Banner's gamma radiation, gaining super strength and transformation control, contrasting Banner's tortured duality. Chronicled in Civil War II and Champions, Cho's tenure leaned into humor and team-ups, framing him as a confident hero eager to redefine the Hulk. Unlike Banner's tragic struggle in The Incredible Hulk, Cho embraced his powers with youthful bravado, aiming to make the Hulk a symbol of control. Fans, however, found this shift jarring, missing Banner's emotional depth and primal rage. Editorial choices, like killing Banner in Civil War II, fueled perceptions that Cho was a forced replacement. His quip-heavy dialogue and lighthearted stories diluted the Hulk's intensity, making his adventures feel less consequential. Sales of Totally Awesome Hulk in 2016 trailed behind Banner's runs, with Reddit threads lamenting the loss of the Hulk's man-versus-monster conflict. Cho's powers, while impressive, were inconsistently portrayed. His controlled Hulk form lacked the raw devastation fans expected. His intelligence offered a fresh angle, but it couldn't replicate the Hulk's core struggle. By Incredible Hulk, Marvel pivoted back to Banner, phasing Cho out. Cho's tenure, though innovative, failed to capture the Hulk's essence, as his upbeat persona clashed with the character's tragic foundation. The attempt to modernize the Hulk ignored the audience's investment in Banner's flaws, making Cho a successor who couldn't carry the gamma-fueled legacy. His early promise as a brilliant ally was overshadowed by his inability to embody the Hulk's primal conflict, leaving his run as a bold but ultimately unsuccessful reimagining of a character defined by inner turmoil. Madeline Pryor, Jean Grey. Madeline Pryor debuted in Uncanny X-Men as a pilot in Alaska, bearing an uncanny resemblance to the deceased Jean Grey. Her romance with Scott Summers and the birth of their son Nathan in Uncanny X-Men positioned her as Jean's emotional successor, filling the void as the X-Men's heart. Initially, Madeline's grounded humanity, her life as a survivor of a plane crash, and her integration into Scott's world won fans over, offering a fresh perspective on the X-Men's dynamic. Her story took a dark turn in X-Factor when Jean's return revealed Madeline as a clone created by Mr. Sinister to manipulate Scott. This retcon, explored in Inferno, transformed her into the Goblin Queen, a demonic antagonist driven by betrayal and despair. Her powers, initially undefined, shifted to sorcery and telepathy, diverging sharply from Jean's phoenix-fueled telekinesis and telepathy. Fans who had embraced Madeline's relatable arc felt cheated by her villainous turn, with letter columns in Uncanny X-Men decrying her reduction to a plot device for Jean's resurrection. The editorial choice to prioritize Jean's return over Madeline's development squandered her potential as a standalone hero. Her arc in Inferno was commercially successful but narratively divisive, as her tragic descent into madness overshadowed her earlier role as a compelling, independent character. Madeline's failure as Jean's successor stemmed from Marvel's refusal to let her evolve beyond her clone origins, tying her identity to Sinister's schemes and Scott's abandonment. Her early promise as a grounded figure was lost in the shift to villainy, with her Goblin Queen persona feeling like a betrayal of her initial characterization. Reader backlash highlighted the narrative's reliance on shock over substance, as Madeline's transformation alienated those who saw her as more than Jean's shadow. Her clone status, coupled with the decision to make her a villain rather than a hero, underscored the challenge of replacing a character as iconic as Jean Grey. Madeline's arc became a cautionary tale of how a promising successor can be undermined by editorial choices that prioritize legacy characters over new potential, leaving her as a tragic figure in X-Men lore, unable to escape the weight of Jean's enduring presence. John Walker, Captain America. John Walker stepped into the Captain America mantle in Captain America after Steve Rogers resigned over government interference. A military veteran enhanced by the power broker's experiments, as shown in Captain America, Walker's origin as the super patriot revealed his nationalist zeal and super strength. Chosen as a government-sanctioned replacement, he wielded the shield with patriotic fervor but lacked Steve's moral clarity. His tenure, chronicled in Captain America, showcased aggressive tactics, including lethal force against foes that clashed with the ideals fans associated with the Star-Spangled Avenger. His backstory in Captain America, the truth added depth, portraying him as a soldier shaped by a rigid sense of duty, but it also highlighted his unsuitability for the role. Editorial intent to explore a darker, more pragmatic Captain America aimed to challenge Steve's idealism, but fans, vocal in 1988 letter columns, rejected Walker's volatile approach, viewing it as a betrayal of the character's aspirational qualities. His brutal methods, such as killing enemies in confrontations, alienated allies like Hawkeye and strained the narrative's credibility. Sales of Captain America remained steady, but the attempt to critique Steve's values through Walker felt heavy-handed, failing to resonate with readers who saw the shield as a symbol of unwavering integrity. Walker's mental breakdown, culminating in his staged death in Captain America, underscored his instability as his aggressive tendencies spiraled into paranoia and violence. When Steve reclaimed the mantle, Walker's brief run was quickly overshadowed, relegated to a footnote in the hero's history. His failure as a successor lay in his inability to embody Captain America's moral compass, a quality fans deemed essential beyond physical strength. Walker's early promise as a patriotic soldier was undermined by his inability to balance duty with restraint, making him a compelling but flawed figure. The narrative's focus on his shortcomings, while intentional, highlighted the challenge of replacing a character whose identity is tied to an unyielding ethical code, cementing Walker as a successor who couldn't uphold the ideals that defined Captain America.